Alright everybody, welcome back to another Bee Mother review, and today we've got a brand new premium format figure from Sideshow Collectibles. Of course, a character that doesn't really need any introduction from me. It's the guy with the heat vision, the X-ray vision. He's bulletproof, he's faster than a speeding bullet, and of course he's strong enough that he doesn't need prep time to defeat his enemies. This is of course the Man of Steel, Superman. And you might notice right away, no red undies on this costume here. This is, of course, the Rebirth style costume. I believe it's the second iteration of the Rebirth costume because he started out with blue boots. Didn't really look that great, so they switched to the red boots. And I believe now, I don't follow Superman too closely in the comics, but I believe he has switched back to the tried and true undies on the outside costume that we all know and love. So this costume here might already be a little bit outdated, but it still looks pretty cool. I like this costume. I think it works out pretty well for him. But we're going to get into this review. We're going to count down my 3 favorite things. And before we get to number 1, I have a few things to critique about it. So we're going to get in the review right now and count it down. So let's do it right now. Alright, so we're going to jump right into the countdown here. My 3 favorite things about this statue, and we're going to start us off here at number 3. I really like the pose on this statue here. And depending on how you look at it, he could be kind of hovering mid-flight. He could be just sort of landing down on top of the base. He could be just taking up off the base. But any way you look at it, it's a fairly comfortable, graceful, kind of easy pose for Superman on one hand. But on the other hand, he's got his fist back here, kind of locked and loaded. He's ready to do some damage. You can see his jaw kind of clenched. This is a real kind of badass looking Superman. So it mixes those two sides of him. His easy power, but still ready to unleash. And it's kind of a nice change of pace from the original premium format Superman that they had. The very standard one leg up, fists clenched, kind of a, pretty safe pose. This is, mixes it up a little bit here, so I really like what they've done with this pose. It's kind of a fresh take, and it just, it really exhibits his powers very well. So I like what they did with the pose. That's why it is at number 3 on my list. Alright, so moving on, we're at number 2 on the countdown here. Top 3 favorite things about this statue, and I really like the base. Typically with a Superman statue, you're going to see him on the Fortress of Solitude, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a very iconic environment for Superman to be in, but this is, mixing up a little bit. It feels fresh. This is, of course, the Brainiac base. It's sort of meant to be part of the Brainiac spaceship, and you got these sort of tentacle arms sort of writhing up. And you can kind of imagine in your mind these things sort of slithering up and looking to grab onto Superman here as he flies by. I like the gems here that give a little bit of a pop of color. The green looks really nice. It's a really cool looking base. I really like it. As I said, it's a really nice change of pace from your standard Fortress of Solitude type of base. So good on Sideshow for mixing it up a little bit, giving us something a little bit different with this second Superman premium format. I really like the base, and it's at number 2. Alright, so before we move on to number 1 and complete the countdown here, I do have a few small critiques about this statue. Number 1, other people have mentioned it in other reviews for this statue. The skin tones, he's a little bit over tanned. I mean, we do know that Superman gets his powers from the sun, but I don't think he needs to fly inches from the surface to absorb it. So, a little bit dark on this guy. It's not too bad, but, you would have liked a little bit more realistic and pleasing skin tones. So that's one thing. Another thing is you've got this kind of heavy shading under his pectoral muscles. For some reason, it's almost like someone took a felt marker and just drew a line right under there. It's kind of jarring, and they don't really have much heavy shading on the rest of the statue, and it looks totally fine. So I kind of wonder why they did that there. So that's number 2. And number 3, the cape. Fabric capes, I always prefer a sculpted cape, I'll be totally honest, but some fabric capes can look really, really nice. The Iron Studios Darth Vader comes to mind, excellent cape. The Prime 1 Arkham Batman had an excellent fabric cape as well. So they can look really, really good. This one's just kind of okay. You know, it is a thicker kind of material. You got the wire here. You can pose it kind of however you want. Now I will say, this statue's not mine. It's my friend Marcos. He lent it to me for this review. He's done a really nice job posing it. I'm terrible at posing capes because I can't decide on what I like. So I would rather have the artist who kind of knows what he's doing and can kind of sculpt the flow and how it sort of billows and wrinkles around for me. I prefer that. But another thing on this cape here is the crest on the back. It's kind of a cheap plasticky screen print sort of thing, so I think that could have been improved. It would have been nice if they had sort of a different lining inside the cape. I think that would have given it a little bit of a higher quality appearance, but overall it's not too bad. And the critiques I just mentioned really are kind of minor things, so but I had to mention them. And now we're going to move on to number one, my favorite thing about the statue, so let's do it. Alright guys, we have arrived at number one. My most favorite thing about this statue is just the style that they gave him. A little bit of a younger looking Superman, and that really kind of contrasts with the previous premium format, which I used to own myself, and I did really like it, but it was kind of that old man Superman. And this guy looks younger, he looks badass, as I mentioned before, with this pose, the clenched jaw, the chiseled face and cheeks. Really, really nice portrait here, as I said, a little bit of a younger looking portrait, and the physique. You know, it's not that Alex Ross kind of style Superman where he's just got that big barrel chest. This guy is jacked. He looks ripped. He looks the way that I think Superman should look. Totally jacked up and heroic. He's got a superhero physique here. One other thing about this sculpt that I really got to mention that looks awesome, the hands, especially this left hand here. It's kind of freakishly realistic. You got all the veins, you got the bones in the back of the hand here. The fingers are kind of got this abnormal kind of shape around the knuckles, are kind of enlarged. They look like a very realistic hand. I really like what they've done there with the hands. Very, very nice detail there. And just overall, as I said, the style of this Superman, great physique, younger looking. You know, he's got the Superman portrait that I kind of envision for the character. So I think they've done a very, very nice job here. This Superman turned out very, very nice. Alright guys, we're going to wrap up this review here. This is the Rebirth style Superman premium format from Sideshow Collectibles. And you know, as I mentioned, there's a few minor gripes about this statue. Kind of the ultra tan skin tones, not super realistic there. Strange shading on the chest, very dark lines under his pecs there. And the cape is just kind of so-so quality, I think. But other than that, I mean, they did a really, really nice job with this Superman. It's a compact piece. It's not going to take up a ton of space. It's easy to assemble. Really nice pose, as I mentioned here. You got that mix of gracefulness and badassery from Superman. So really nice mix there. I like the base. It's something new. It's something fresh that we don't really see that often with the Brainiac environment. And of course, I really like the style, you know, the jacked up physique. You can see all his muscles in the chest there. And, you know, a younger looking Superman with the chiseled facial features. This Superman's pretty badass. I gotta say, it's probably my favorite Superman statue out to date. And Sideshow did a really nice job with it. So great work here. Superman Rebirth style from Sideshow Collectibles. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. I'm going to have more for you coming up soon, and so stay tuned to the channel. Stay tuned to Shelf Space as our live stream show that I host with Charles and Gina B. We have lots of great guests and just kind of talk lots of pop culture and talk behind the scenes in the industry. So stay tuned to Shelf Space as well. And thanks you guys for watching. We'll talk to you guys soon.